Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Mike Jones says, where's Koa Peat going? So for people who do not know, Koa Peat, and I've told this story a million times, but Koa Peat, first of all, is one of the top unranked high school players in America that has not yet made a college decision. Okay. So class of 2025, he's a senior, and he's regarded, maybe not quite that Cam Boozer, AJ DeBonsa kind of player, but he is a 5-star. And the story that I've told consistently is this. This is what I love about Koa Peat. I remember seeing him after his 8th grade year at the Pangos All-American Camp. Okay. Pangos All-American Camp, Pangos All-American Camp every summer brings together the best guys that are going into their senior year, and they'll have some underclassmen, a couple of juniors, a couple freshmen, whatever. Koa Peat went after his 8th grade year, the year that I saw him. Let's see here. Jalen Duren was there. Jalen Duren is in his 4th year in the NBA, maybe 5th year. I think it's his 4th year in the NBA. He was going into a senior year. Now he reclassified, but you had guys like, you had all sorts of guys there. You had Derek Lively, who's been in the NBA now for a while. Koa Peat was a 8th grader playing against guys that were 4 and 5 years older than him. And I'm not going to say that he was the most dominant player there, but he wasn't afraid. He was competitive. And the thing that I like about him and the thing that I respect about him is that as he's continued to progress throughout his career in high school, it's interesting to me is that he has not missed a beat. Like sometimes these kids get ranked really, really high as 7th, 8th graders, and they kind of just fall off the map, or they stop working, or they stop developing. That's not who this kid is. He keeps getting better. He's a tough physical kid. I think a lot of people know the backstory. For those who do not, his brother Andrews Peat was a 1st-round pick offensive tackle who at least got drafted by the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if he still plays for them. And then also on top of that, his brother plays football at Arizona State. So this is a player, 6'8" forward, athletic, physical, whatever. Other thing that I like about him, by the way, and we'll get to where I think he's going to college in a minute, can kind of play a lot of different roles. Was dominant on the Adidas circuit during the summer, but he also played Team USA with Cam Boozer. He also played Team USA with AJ DeBonsa, and he played kind of that complimentary, hard-playing defensive guy, this and that. All right, so let's get to his recruitment, because I actually, he's a Arizona kid, but obviously, he plays a lot in California. And I've asked around about him a lot. One, and I remember saying this over last summer, I think he is going to wait until, I don't want to say the last minute, but he's a smart kid, smart family. They understand how this stuff it goes. And I think he's sitting there saying, why am I going to commit in December or January before I know what the roster looks like? So I think this is a kid that's going to take his recruitment into April. It is worth noting he does have a Final 5. I believe, I would have to double check on this, but I know Arizona State, is it Texas, Houston, and Baylor, I believe, are the Final 5. I could look this up really quick. But I believe I know it's Arizona and Arizona State, but it's just the question of what are it is those 3. So it's Arizona, Arizona State, Baylor, Houston, and Texas. I know he's taken some visits to those Texas schools. I don't really, in my heart of hearts, believe that he is going to any of those 2 Texas schools, or those 3 Texas schools. I do believe that it is ultimately going to come down to Arizona and Arizona State. And I'll be transparent. I don't think a decision has been made and he's just kind of waiting around. I think he is a little bit torn, and I think he is seriously considering both of them. Now, Arizona's the obvious one, so we'll get to them in a minute. Arizona State, a couple things. One, he's from the Tempe, Phoenix area. As I said, his brother is a football player at Arizona State. Might even have a sister. Arizona fans are going to kill me for this. I don't remember all the details, but this, by the way, got dropped in the chat. So it's not like I had all this prepped. But he might even have a sister at Arizona State. But, brother that plays football there. His family is not far from the Phoenix area. And I think the other thing that's kind of worth noting on Arizona State, like, we kind of know what their roster is going to look a little bit like next year in theory, because Jaden Quaintance, remember that name? We talked about him a lot last April, was a 5-star in the class of 2024, reclassified playing college basketball right now. He plays really hard. He is only 17 years old. He's not eligible for the NBA draft this year. And so there's a chance Jaden Quaintance comes back and plays college. He's coming back to college basketball. It's just whether he comes back to Arizona or not. So you already have potentially a bedrock NBA type piece on that roster. I also think it's worth noting with Arizona State. There was a big report about NIL, like somebody claimed that they weren't getting paid, or I think there was a report from players didn't say it, but like Bobby Hurley had to address, oh, we're not making the money in NIL that we thought they were, and kids are missing their paychecks. I checked in on that, and somebody told me it was absolutely false, 100% of a lie. And I was actually told it was negative recruiting to try to convince Koa Peat you don't want to go to Arizona State. So one, I think he's smart enough to kind of make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. But two, I think Arizona State is in the mix. Now, I will say, if you had to ask me today, I do think that probably Arizona is the favorite. And the reason is pretty straightforward. He's an Arizona kid from the state of Arizona. By the way, Tucson, I've made the drive from Tucson to Phoenix. It's not far. Like his family would be an hour up the road. It's not like, they're 3 hours away in the same state. So I don't think the distance thing really matters. And I just think the reality is you're going to be playing with better players at Arizona in a more, just a better system, whatever. And you look at what Arizona has done so far in recruiting. It's early in this class, but they did get a commitment from Bryce James, who's obviously LeBron's youngest son. I don't know if that really moves the needle. But the other thing is they're recruiting some big names outside of him. Braden Burries, 5-star kid from Southern California, another kid who's not committed yet. And I don't even know that there's a leader, but people think Arizona fans think they're a leader. Let me put it this way. On a national level, I don't know that people believe that Braden Burries has a favorite, but Arizona fans think that he is going to Arizona because he has a relationship with Bryce James. Now you have a 5-star point guard in Braden Burries. Now it makes Koa Peat more likely to go. And the one thing about Arizona, credit to Tommy Lloyd, he's always going to have a really good roster. You start to look at what that roster could look like next year. Listen, Jaden Bradley's probably not an NBA player after this year. KJ Lewis, who I love, started slow. We'll see where he is. But there's an opportunity to go to the state school, step in, have an opportunity to play right away and play significant minutes and moments right away. And so this is a 5-star. He's a one-and-done kid. And I think that's the other thing, too. That is one thing I was told in his recruitment early. He wants to go to a place that's going to be able to feature him and get him to the NBA in 1 year. Sometimes you have a 5-star kid that's kind of a fringe NBA prospect. No. This kid's going to be a top 10 pick in the 2026 NBA draft. So he's got to find the right spot. My hunch is it's Arizona. I think it's really an Arizona State type thing. And I still think we're a little ways away, probably about till April before he actually commits.